Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So in the simplest terms, companies are made up of their people. Production of the product, sales and revenue growth, administration and management, it's all about the people. So here to discuss the services and to deliver tips of strategies and to employers and job seekers alike is the owner of DS Employment Services, Daniel Shinaver. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I enjoy being here.
Awesome. All right. So your firm assists both employers and employees and job seekers. So you kind of cover all the bases. Is that correct?
That is correct. I really like working pretty much with anybody. My personal business model is to be helpful. So with employers, I try to reach out. I try to give them coaching assistance. I try to step in a little bit, not so much be a problem solver, but to be an opportunity solution expert, to kind of look and provide some coaching and guidance. If they have employees that are looking for internal development, I provide leadership development, communication development. I'll teach employees how to find those stepping stone platforms within an organization that can allow for career growth. For somebody who's just a job seeker, I'll try to teach them like interviewing strategies, management strategies, leadership development strategies. I'll teach them how to elevate their employment game.
Got it. Okay. So how did you find this skill? And how did it become a business? And how did you kind of gather momentum and all the curriculum you deliver? Talk about your story a little bit.
You know, it's been a little bit of a journey. I started out my career originally in 2006 with Michigan Works, and then I was there for a brief period of time, for about 2 years. And then I transferred to the nonprofit world, where I worked with people that were homeless, people that were living in shelters, people that were on the street. Then I started working with veterans that were disabled and people that were long-term incarcerated. And during that whole journey, it was all about employment. It was all about getting people on their feet. It was all about that development. So over time, just from sheer experience of being out there, talking with management, talking with people, that kind of led me to where I'm at today. I left my position in 2018 and started my own company. And rather than going to work for somebody else, I said, you know what, I'm going to pound that drum and I'm going to get on my feet. I'm going to help these people out. I'm going to keep on doing that. And that's what I find is just by being helpful.
Got it. Okay. So what kinds of employers maybe would be in your wheelhouse? What type of people tend to call you and ask for assistance? Ideally,
the people I love working with the most are the small to mid-sized business owners. And the reason for that is it allows me that one-on-one exchange that I can have with the CEO or with the founder or with the head manager. And I can't necessarily get that with a larger organization, but with a mid-sized or a smaller organization, I really enjoy that. As far as fields go, I can work with production, administration, pretty much really anything that has a management quality to it.
And I would imagine that some of the bigger companies have their own internal support systems, right? But the small business owners, nonprofit leaders even, maybe don't have the budget to have someone full-time to help fix the problem.
That's absolutely true. You know, with a larger company, I find myself, when I step into that role, I'm kind of a cog. I'm kind of just one gear in many, and it's hard to mesh that. With a smaller company, I can step in and help be that change leader that can sometimes be what's necessary for them to self-evaluate a little bit and to realize where they want to go and how to get there. So I joke with I have a business coach, so I joke with my business coach that I'm an opportunity solution expert, i.e. if you make a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's an opportunity for a solution, and allow me to come in and help out a little bit.
Got it. Okay. So you mentioned you started this in 2018? Yes. Yep. I can only imagine a couple years in, all of a sudden we get hit with a pandemic, and then we navigate throughout the pandemic, which is, as everyone knows, a couple of years long at least, and then now we're kind of in this new mode of work from home, and employers' challenges are different now than they were pre-pandemic and all that kind of stuff. You must have had to remain nimble. Do you find that the message you deliver and the philosophies have had to change during that time?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 2018 to 2019 was all about networking, getting on my feet. 2020, 2021, when the pandemic really hit, I lost, I think, I want to say 12 employers that had to shut their doors. So those are 12 big contracts I had to eliminate. So I had to be nimble. I had to be flexible. Right. I had to restructure my pattern. And then once the economy started to come back a little bit, I had to remain flexible because the techniques that I was teaching were being implemented already throughout the economy after pandemic. So I was like, okay, well, I can't keep doing what everybody else is doing. So this is where I'm at. So I had to stay flexible and stay on track and keep the course and stay ahead of the game.
So as you're dealing with employers now, what are some of the general themes either of what you're teaching them or what challenges, usually there's like, here are the 6 ways that employers are struggling right now, and I've got these tools that can help them out. What would those ways be?
The easiest way I tell employers to basically overcome the challenges that they're having is to take a step back, is to be flexible, is to be adaptable themselves, is to individualize the treatment of their employees, not treat their employees as a group. So, for instance, if I have 15 employees in a company, I don't look at that as a group of 15 to be taught. I look at that as 15 individuals who have different strengths, skills, abilities, and they all have something to teach me as an employer, as a manager. So for an employer, I want them to step into their company, into their organization. I want them to look at the people underneath them and realize that I need to personalize each and every one of these individuals' experiences in unique and creative ways. And when they do that, the loyalty goes through the roof. The retention goes through the roof. The turnover starts to go down because that's what the younger seekers are looking for. The older workers, our generation and above, we just want a job. We want to give our loyalty. The younger seekers are looking for those perks, those benefits, that flexibility.
Right. And I know of many employers who have the owner, right, whose name's on the building, Absolutely. Who had pre-pandemic complete control of the environment and culture and rules of employment. If you want to work here, here's where you need to be, when you need to be, and what you need to get accomplished if you want to remain employed here. That was all taken away, regardless of your leadership style. During the pandemic, everybody was mandated to do things differently. And I find that there's a wide variety of styles of leaders out there, some of whom are desperately trying to regain that control and force the hand and say, you need to be in and you need to do these things. And I can't say that they're wrong. There is no right or wrong. It's an evolution and a path, and every company gets to decide what they want the rules to be. Do you find that there's a variety of styles out there of people trying to either force return to office or want to capitulate, and give the return to office, let people continue to work from home even against their will, but, so they're faking their enthusiasm for letting it happen, that kind of thing?
What's interesting is that first year, when people really started opening the doors, companies really started to go back to work, they tried to force their employees to go back. And what they saw was a severe spike in turnover because it just didn't make sense to people who are used to working from home. I know so many people that work from home and their productivity is up, their accountability is up, their happiness is up. And on the employer side, think of the cost of renting a building, the cost of insurance, the cost of maintenance. Why have all of that to bring somebody back on board to increase your turnover rates when you can have people work remotely who are responsible adults and who have a higher satisfaction? So the companies that are trying to do that, they're suddenly realizing that there's a huge struggle out there because people understand their own worth and they're going, I'm going to go down the street to your competitor who pays me more and allows me to stay flexible and only needs me to come in the office 3 hours a week to do a check-in. So I find that culture out there interesting because those employers, their businesses are hurting because they're trying to enforce rules that were pre-pandemic and they're not adjusting to the economic culture.
Got it. So talk a little bit about the job seekers. Have they changed their tune a little bit? As you're navigating, helping people find a place to work, are they looking for something different?
Oh, it's a very interesting mix out there right now with the job seekers, depending on the category you're looking at. So the older job seekers, they're pretty set in stone. They know what they want. The younger job seekers, they're smart. They're very smart. And what I mean by that is I've seen it time and time and time again where somebody will go into an interview and prior to going into that interview, they actually print off competitors' company wages, the competitors' yearly earnings. They print off government data and they go into these interviews and they say, oh, well, you can't provide this here that is readily available in your competitor's format. So why should I work for you? Oh, I can go down the street and work for your competitor, and here's the proof why I'm worth this. Here's the proof of the job market. Here's the proof of what I bring to the table. And employers don't know how to deal with that with the younger generations because it's such a strong arm tactic. But a lot of employers are looking at that as, oh, this person, this younger generation, this individual is doing that. That's a leader. That's somebody who's researching. That's somebody who knows their value. That's going to be our future leader. Maybe we need to embrace this change and bring this person on board who's willing to negotiate this up front. And the companies that do things like that, that recognize that, they're seeing just such a huge, vast improvement in their cultural well-being internally. It's absolutely amazing.
Right on. I want to tip the cap to one of our sponsors. When it comes to creating commercial and residential spaces, there's no one I trust more than my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company. Brent Forsberg and his team take a holistic approach to creating an environment that suits your needs while creating a foundation for a prosperous community. Since the 1950s, Forsberg has been a name to trust if you're looking to partner on a project, occupy a great space to live or work, or simply follow one of the great thought leaders in our state. Reach out to my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company by calling 517-349-9330 or check out their website at lansingrealestate.com. So these employees that are looking for jobs, or not employees, I guess, these job seekers, you've got this band of folks out there that are demanding different things from their employers to date. But there's a lot of narrative out there talking about, from the employer standpoint, that there isn't enough of a workforce. There aren't enough people to fill the jobs. They can't fill the positions that they have. What's your take on that?
I would say in the production arena, that is absolutely true. But there are a lot of people out there who are highly skilled. And what's happening is they know their own worth. And so they look at a company that's advertising, and this company is going, I'm going to offer you $17 an hour plus limited benefits after 90 days. Well, they can't get workers who can go down the street 2 miles and make $25 an hour right out the gate with a $3,000 sign-on bonus. So there are workers that are out there who want to work, but they want to work, within an area that's is affordable, I guess you could say it. Why work 40 hours a week if you can't pay your rent? Why work if you can't pay your bills?
Yep.
To an employer who's not willing to help meet those bare minimal standards, good luck. I'm not saying that to be facetious. It's just that's the reality. They need to look at their competitors, the job market, the environment, and see what can we do to elevate what we can pay and what we can offer for the younger generations.
Got it. And if I'm not mistaken, from preparing for this, you're a veteran. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Where'd you serve?
I was in the Marines from 1995 to 99.
Okay.
So I didn't really serve abroad. I got injured before I could serve abroad. But I was only in for 4 years, and then I got out and just kind of continued serving the veteran community.
And that's why I want to bring this up, because I know you're very pro-veteran and you're really an advocate to making sure that they have what they need. So talk a little bit about the non-traditional candidates. I think the HR world is discovering, and people like yourself are banging the drum that you're too narrow a focus, and it's not just veterans. Talk about other people that employers may not consider as great hire opportunities.
A long time ago, I had an opportunity to go through a great communication class with Phil Zeller from Dale Carnegie. And what I learned from that, one of the key takeaways I learned from that is everybody has skills and knowledge that are not being leveraged effectively. And so when I look at all these groups of individuals, whether they're disabled veterans, whether they're a veteran, whether there's somebody that was formerly incarcerated, whether that's somebody that's historically has not been treated well, they all have their own experiences, but within those experiences comes knowledge, comes soft skills, comes perspective, and those are all strengths. And so I try to tell management, look at everybody on your team, look at their background, look to see where they come from, and how can that benefit me? If I have somebody on my team who's a strong introvert, I might not necessarily know that introvert is great at proofreading, is great at spreadsheet development, is great at small team leadership if nobody ever talks to that person and gives them an opportunity. Or I look at this individual who maybe they come over from Jamaica. They're a first generation immigrant from Jamaica. They've come here, they've got a different cultural experience, but you know what? Their perspective on people might be severely different than mine. And because of that perspective, I can leverage that strength and grow as an individual. And if I can do that and filter it down, how is my company not going to benefit from that?
And you take that from the perspective of employees that are already there, but you could also deploy that same philosophy on candidates.
Absolutely.
For positions that are open, right? So, maybe some of the things that your recruiter or your HR team, and they're looking through resumes, they're disqualifying people because of something that they see, where maybe they need to open up their mind and say, hey, we've got all these openings. Why wouldn't I cast a wider net to consider people I wouldn't otherwise consider?
Yeah, because there are traditional disqualifiers, of course, for employment, but a lot of times the disqualifiers that you traditionally look at might come from a point of internal bias. Right. So if you can step back from that for a moment and go, okay, well, normally I wouldn't consider this person, but maybe I need to flip the script a little bit and look at this person and realize that while they may not necessarily have the upfront skills, maybe they have the soft skills that would make them an excellent employee because nobody had ever given them a chance before, or nobody had ever looked at them or provided them proper treatment in the workplace. If you can flip the script and realize that, you will find loyalty that will go through the roof.
I was just going to say, their gratitude for being taken serious. You could end up with the most loyal employee that you have. You might need to train them a little bit differently to bolster some skills that they don't bring naturally to the equation, but you'll find that people will run through a wall for you because you took them seriously.
Well, absolutely. I worked with a gentleman quite a few years back that was incarcerated. He got out, he went through a training program, he looked for employment, and nobody would give him an opportunity because he'd been incarcerated for 15 years. Well, he finally found a company, it was a gravel production company, and they had a winter storm here in Lansing. And what happened was, from where he was staying at to the work location was 8 miles. He rode his bike through a storm and had had a flat tire on the way there, wheeled his bike the rest of the way, and his boss is going, "Why are you here?" He goes, "We're closed for the day." And he's like, "Well, I didn't have a cell phone that worked." And he goes, "I know you wanted me to be here." That boss turned around and bought him a car, turned around and picked him up until he could save his money. He just rewarded that loyal employee for that. And that's what I see is when you give these people, a genuine opportunity, their loyalty knows no bounds.
Something slipped by me a little bit as you were talking here, and I just want to accentuate it because a lot of the philosophies you impart when you're talking about communication with employers is really working on retention.
Yes.
Whereas I kind of led into the show as more recruiting, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I've got 20 people, I need 25. How do I find the other 5? Well, the best way to find the other 5 is to keep the 20 you have and not need to find another 9.
That's true.
Because 4 people quit. So I do appreciate and very much appreciate that mindset of keep the people you already have. Mm-hmm. You can't just keep recycling dirty laundry, right? You got to keep the people you have and then grow and then develop a reputation of being a great employer and not be the place that everyone used to work at.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's absolutely true.
And I think that's a really important thing to state because it seems to be just really a part of your culture and your message that you're delivering. So congratulations on that. I think that's really important.
No, thank you. I see that so often where companies, they don't know the difference between retention and recycling. And there is a huge difference there. And with retention, you want to be in a position where the employees are happy to be there. They want to be there. If you have a team of good employees that are happy to be there, and they know there's set standards, they know that they're going to be treated the right way, they will bring other employees along who they think have those same standards. So often recruiting efforts will come from the people that are happiest within your organization because they see the value of what you as an employer bring. And I think often that gets overlooked on the employer side.
Got it. Well, we've talked quite a bit about how you engage with employers. We've talked a little bit about how you engage with employees that want to skill up and then job seekers. What other services or what other messages do you want to deliver as we kind of come to a conclusion on this show?
Well, some of the other services that I provide to employers, I recently moved more away from the headhunting aspect and more into the coaching side of my business.
Okay.
And the coaching side of my business, I recently launched a program called Retain and Sustain. It's a 5-week intensive coaching program for managers. I recently launched that, and there's great excitement out there for it. There's a lot of people that are asking me questions about it. And then I recently launched a Rise and Thrive management series that you can find on Amazon Kindle. The Rise and Thrive series, there are a series of management books that specifically talk about each generation and how to manage those generations differently. So dealing with the baby boomer generation, dealing with Generation X, dealing with Generation Y. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on my website, dsemploymentservices.com. I'm also on Twitter. If you find me on LinkedIn, be sure to subscribe to my retention report weekly. I send out 2 articles weekly and then a midweek retention tip for employers. So I'm excited by that. So I'm staying pretty busy with everything.
Got it. So remind us of that website again.
www.dsemploymentservices.com.
Fantastic. And you're available, like you said, follow social platforms. You got newsletters. LinkedIn is a great place, a good portal to find you first. Well, Dan, I appreciate you joining me here today. It's been a great conversation. Thanks for the work you're doing in our community.
Well, I appreciate being here. I always enjoy coming on and talking about business.
Fantastic. All the best.